Welcome into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, joined by by Wade Neely. We'll be here with you in the Lee Company studios for the next couple of hours, talking sports of local, regional, and national importance, including a certain Thursday night football game featuring, well, Jonathan Vilma won't be in it, but the Gang Green will be hosting an AFC East matchup as Amazon Prime continues to be the station of the AFC East, apparently for another week. So looking forward to, again, being here with you for the next couple of hours, and hope springs eternal for Wade's Jets following their trip to Nissan Stadium this past weekend.
Jets fans are, the good news for folks that are tired of us, you only get to put up with us usually for about the first 4 weeks of the year.
So
and then we
kind of 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, we kind of pipe down. Although this year, who knows? This is a game tonight that no one should really be subjected to, let alone on national television. But somebody's got to win it. Might as well be the Jets. So I figured I'd at least on Throwback Thursday, no less, try and get into the mold here, and maybe Vilma, the spirit of Jonathan Vilma, will power him to victory tonight.
It certainly cannot hurt. Big show today. In the second hour, we will visit with Megan L. Hall of For the Win. She covers the WNBA. Big night tonight in the WNBA because it's the final night of the regular season. And again, 7 of 8 postseason berths have been decided. The final one will be decided tonight. And obviously, since it's the last week of regular season, but 3 teams vying for one spot. One team kind of has a clear-cut advantage, but on the other hand, they also have a clear-cut disadvantage.
Yeah. The scenario is pretty simple. The bad news is it's a really hard scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk more about that with Megan in the second hour. In the next segment, we will visit with Dickson County coach Jeff Tomlinson, whose Cougars may or may not have pulled off one of the upsets of week 4 when they went to Gallatin and picked up a 10-7 victory. So, and they've got a big one coming up this weekend in region play. So again, we will visit in the next hour with Coach Tomlinson out of Dickson County. We'll also give out some of our weekly hardware, our team of the week, our athlete of the week. We will give those out in the next segment as well. We'll be talking a little Braves. The news is good now. The news was good from last night. News not so good from San Diego, but Houston's still in pretty good shape, all things considered. So we'll talk a little baseball in the next segment. We will talk a little Jets Patriots. There is a Thursday college football game on tonight that I'm a little intrigued by. And little NFL news, NBA news we'll get to in the grab bag in the final segment. Again, it is Throwback Thursday. We will throw it back to one of our recent conversations. This one with Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado, talking a little Coach Prime, because what else would you talk about if you're talking to somebody from Colorado, right?
Yep, and he set it up nicely ahead of the big rivalry game that delivered in some capacities, not quite as electric as last year's, but that's good for one of those two teams in that scenario.
Yeah, it is. So, that will be a fun conversation to go back and listen to. Much like our conversation with David Ubben last week was fun to go back and listen to, as we kind of got exposed a little bit, but that's okay.
No
fault of ours.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it today because in the Pulaski Citizen Pick'em contest, week 2, we had someone that went undefeated and won the $1,200 jackpot. And I asked our publisher, Scott Stewart, I said, the Northern Illinois Notre Dame game wasn't in there, was it? He said, no, that was the one game that was not included. But the young lady that went undefeated still managed to pull off some crazy upsets, but that one was by far the biggest. And, we looked a little foolish. How dare we think that Notre Dame would take care of Northern Illinois at home, right?
Yeah. Pish posh.
Yeah.
Anyway, Looking forward to the top of the hour conversation with Justin Adams. So that's what today's show looks like. Let's go ahead and dive into it and give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
To the rundown we go, and let's get underway with volleyball action. Scores were limited on a Wednesday night, but we've got a few to dole out. And on the volleyball hardwood, it was Franklin Christian in a 5-set thriller, 3-2 over Spring Hill. Good win for Franklin Christian there. Couple of shutouts, however, 9-0 shutouts, in fact, on the girls' soccer side of things at Station Camp. Blanked Greenbrier, and Lawson pitched one, a clean sheet versus Kip of Nashville. In Major League Baseball action last night, it was the Braves 7, the Reds 1. It was the Padres 4, the Astros nothing. And Sounds scores from last night, not good for the Sounds as they fall 2-1 in our opener, 8-7 in our second game. Speaking of match, however, I can tell you that Nashville SC is officially a unit. They're a wagon, folks. They cannot be stopped. They will not lose a game the rest of the year. A week ago, they couldn't win a game, but now they win and they defeat the Chicago Fire 1-0, Mo, and that is a much-needed win for NSC.
Their second straight.
2 in a row. Like I said, they will not lose the rest of the season.
Cannot be stopped.
They go from they'll never win to now they'll never lose. I love it.
Never, ever. I like it. I like it. High school football tonight. Battleground Academy makes the trip up to Old Hickory Boulevard, taking on the Christ Presbyterian Academy Lions. This game can be heard on Main Street Media Radio. Is that correct?
MainStreetMediaRadio.com. Should be a good one tonight. CPA, really good team. PGA, we just talked to Coach Bentley a couple weeks ago. They're a really good team. Looking forward to a good broadcast tonight and a good game.
The Golden Tones of Wade Neely, along with Jacob Underwood.
Jacob Underwood will be in the house. CPA. They didn't mince words, though. I told him, Mo, I said, I visited your school several years ago when Giles County was in your region, and your press box was rather small then. And their good friend Harrison Applewhite said, it's still small. He said, but don't worry, we got you fixed up. We're going to roll out the red carpet as best we can, but don't plan on being indoors tonight. I said, that's okay.
Yeah, tonight you can get away with that.
Yes, yeah.
Volleyball action this evening. 5 o'clock start for Houston County at Santa Fe. At 5:45, Providence Christian travels to Battleground Academy. Webb School of Bell Buckle travels to Columbia Academy. Middle Tennessee Christian is at Grace Christian of Franklin. At 6, Murfreesboro Central travels to Battle Creek. Cannon County hosts in Eagleville. Lawrence County goes to Coffee County. Gallatin takes on visiting Mount Juliet. Summertown is at Hampshire. Wilson Central goes to Laverne. Loretto takes on visiting Mount Pleasant. Culleoka is at Moore County. Oakland goes to Riverdale. Shelbyville travels to Spring Hill. Smyrna goes to Stewart's Creek. Tullahoma hosting Columbia Central. Lancaster Christian is at Zion Christian. Again, all of those at 6 o'clock. At 6:30, Blackman goes across town, taking on Murfreesboro rival Siegel. And time unknown to us, check your local listings. Ezel Harding is at Donaldson Christian.
Again, double check on that one, but should be a dandy between those two teams. Girls soccer action bonus match today. We got a shout out, though. It is a big one. 2 of the top 5 teams in the NAI will play this afternoon in Pulaski. Number 5, UT Southern versus number 3, William Carey. These two teams have won the last 2 national championships. So this will be a big showdown tonight at 4 p.m. Back to high school now at 4 p.m. Christian Community is at Friendship Christian. It'll be CPA at Harpeth Hall. 4:30 tonight will be Middle Tennessee Christian at BGA. DCA is traveling to Davidson Academy to kick off our matches at 5 p.m. Also at 5, Culleoka at Loretto. Clarksville Academy at Goodpasture. St. Cecilia Academy is taking on Mount Juliet Christian. Middle Tennessee Fire versus Providence Christian at 5 o'clock tonight. Coming up, also we have Macon County at Springfield. Ezel Harding at St. Cecilia Academy. Now it takes us to 6 o'clock. At 6 p.m., you can see Harpeth at Cheatham County, University School of Nashville, who's right here taking on Columbia Academy. Franklin Simpson, that is out of Kentucky, will travel to East Robertson. Montgomery Central at Fairview this evening. Ballard Collegiate is at Franklin Road Academy. Kenwood is traveling to Glencliff tonight. Russellville, Kentucky at Greenbrier. It'll be Antioch at Smyrna, Creekwood at Sycamore, Giles County with a road trip over to Tullahoma tonight in region play. It'll be Grace Christian Franklin at Webb School at 6:30 tonight. You can see Watertown at Livingston Academy, and Lead Academy will be at Martin Luther King.
7 o'clock first touch for Nolensville at Brentwood. Also, Spring Hill traveling to Columbia Central at 7 tonight. Scroll. Come on. Clarksville Northeast is at Dickson County. I assume that's a 7 o'clock start. Also, the soccer version of the Bishop's Cup as Pope John Paul II goes to Father Ryan at 7. Murfreesboro Central is at Franklin County. Mount Juliet travels to Gallatin. Green Hill hosting Stewart's Creek. Beaches at Hendersonville. Centennial goes to Independence. Kirkwood hosting Clarksville Northwest. Merrill Hyde is at Laverne. West Creek is at Liberty Creek. One of the creeks will rise.
Well played, sir.
Good Lord willing. Rockvale is at Oakland at 7. Page goes to Ravenwood at 7. Blackman is at Riverdale. Shelbyville is at Siegel. Franklin will travel to Summit, and Ensworth will host Rossview at 7:30.
That takes us into the bottom half of tonight's schedule. Men's soccer, the second half of that UT Southern William Carey doubleheader. UT Southern men are receiving votes. The William Carey men are ranked number 16. That match is set to begin at 6:30. If you want to watch that, you can go to utsfirehawks.com. They'll be able to hook you up. Holy moly, ladies and gentlemen, we got a Major League Baseball score. And what a score we have. Is this accurate? 11-2 in the top of the seventh. The Braves on top of the Reds, busting out the sticks. That game, the finale, the rest of that game can be seen on Valley Sports South. If it hasn't, been decided enough to your liking, correct. The Angels will be at the Astros tonight. That game begins at 7:10 p.m. on local television. The Sounds are taking on Norfolk. That game is also underway. Maybe we'll give you an update by the time we get out of here today. As we mentioned, final night of the WNBA season, and every team is in action. It should be a beautiful slate this evening. Atlanta at the Liberty at 6 p.m. on NBA TV. All the Dream got to do, Mo, is win versus the Liberty, and they're in. They can get in with a lot of other situations, but if they win, they are in.
Win against the number 1 seed.
Good luck. Yeah. That's all we're going to say about that.
The number 1 seed.
At the Liberty. Also at 6 p.m., Indiana, who's already in, taking on the Mystics in D.C. The Mystics, one of those 3-4 teams vying for the final spot. 3 teams vying for that final spot, 6 p.m. on Amazon. Chicago also in that mix. They're at Connecticut tonight at 6 p.m. The Sparks are at the Lynx at 7. The Storm are at the Mercury tonight at 9. And also at 9 tonight, it'll be the Dallas Wings at the Vegas Aces. Couple of different seeds are up for grabs. We'll go over that a little bit later, but it's going to be a fun final night in the WNBA regular season. NFL action tonight. The Patriots at the Jets. Tom Brady is not there. Aaron Rodgers there for now. Good Lord willing, as you said a moment ago, we'll see how the game plays out. But 7:15 tonight, game can be seen on Amazon. Should be a good one. And that takes us, ladies and gentlemen, to the end of our schedule and concludes today's rundown.
Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. So, various media outlets have reported that somehow Will Levis's cell number got out into the public domain, and a number of individuals chose to utilize it to either text or call him to give him grief about his, not necessarily his play, but his plays from over the past couple of weeks. To the point that he changed his number yesterday. I don't know how my number got out there with the fans, but I got a lot of texts. That'll be nice to shut that part and put it behind me. haven't opened social in the last couple of weeks. I just think that's the healthiest way to go about it. I don't want to or care to hear any of the things people say about me, and I'm just going to keep chugging along regardless of what they say. It sucks that the world is the way it is, and I'm looking forward to having some privacy. Now, Will Levis is not immune to the criticism for the boneheaded plays that he made both against the Chicago Bears and against the New York Jets. Those were plays that were made in an effort to do too much, but sometimes you got to live to play another day. And again, as David Cutcliffe said, any play that ends with you still in possession of the ball is a good one. Levis had a couple that did not end that way. That said, this type of behavior from a fan base is unacceptable.
Yeah. This is tough, and man, I mean, it's 2024. I'm honestly, in a weird way, kind of surprised you don't hear about this more often.
Well, I don't know how the information gets out there, though. I mean, how do you get Will Levis's phone number?
I mean, that is a great question. That's kind of what I'm wondering, right there. I mean, it just feels like we have access to more information now than ever, and all it takes is one person to drop some random social media, or even inadvertently, if you're just hanging out with Will Levis or you're randomly by him and his phone randomly flashes a number, things of that nature. I mean, the internet sleuths are out there.
Yeah,
and
it's unfortunate.
And once it gets out there, it is not. You can't put that genie back in the bottle, as we like to say.
Yeah, and the best way to put it back, I guess, he decided was to get another phone number. Now, I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Can you change the number on your cell phone? Do you have to get another cell phone with another number? How does that work? Because one, I've never had to, and two, I certainly don't have the resources, financially speaking, that Will Levis does. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is where the burner phone is always brought into play too. There's a reason you keep the burner phone around. So I'll tell you this: have you ever seen the movie Big Fan by chance?
It sounds
2009. Patton Oswalt is in it, and it's Giants Eagles.
You had me at Patton Oswalt.
And it is a dark comedy that fully encompasses the NFL. The weirdest fans by far on the planet are NFL fans from top to bottom, and this movie fully encompasses that. And that's kind of what this storyline makes me think of, is that it's unfortunate for Levis. I'm also thinking it's a good thing he's in Nashville, not necessarily, in New York, in Philadelphia, in Los Angeles.
There are a lot of.
I know we got the Vol for Life fans that have been coming with the pitchfork since they drafted this guy, but it could have been a lot worse in terms of markets with media criticism and fan expectations from the jump for this guy.
Let me ask you, what was the movie that you referenced?
Big Fan.
Where I feel like if you've seen or you are a fan of Big Fan, then you have probably seen Celtic Pride. Where does it sit in relation to that?
Believe it or not, I've not actually seen the movie Celtic Pride. I'm familiar with the base and the concept, but have not seen it. But I'm assuming it's very similar. This one is probably a little darker comedy in the sense that there are some borderline, heinous situations that occur. Wow. But it is, like I said, it's a comedy. Patton Oswalt is good there. So maybe Celtic Pride. We'll swap out. And we'll do some homework. So we'll trade film, if you will, over the weekend. That could be a new segment here. That could be a new segment for us going forward with trade film, where we kind of give recommendations, drop one, take one, leave one type situation.
There we go.
But yeah, it could be worse for Levis, I think. This is obviously about as bad of a situation as you can get in 2024
in Nashville.
But it could be a lot worse in terms of the fan base, in my opinion.
Without question. Again, not excusing the actions on the field, but don't do that. Just don't. That's relatively classless. Let's take a break from the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it'll be Coach's Corner with Dickson County football coach Jeff Tomlinson. Stay tuned after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
He shoots, and he scores!
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
It is Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. That's not Jonathan Vilma, contrary to the jersey. I'm Maurice Patton. We are now on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley here in Columbia, Eat, Play, Party. And we are joined by Dickson County football coach Jeff Tomlinson, who is efforting to get on the screen, but at this moment is with us audio only. So we will continue to see if we can get a face to go with the voice. But Coach Tomlinson, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking some time to be with us.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry I'm not real computer literate here, so I'm working, but my button says stop cam, so it's supposed to be video and right now, but I don't know why it's not.
Oh, well, trust us.
We will try and tush push you to the video if we can, but if not, at least we got the audio going. That's okay as well. So.
Yeah, we can definitely hear you and definitely appreciate that. Coach, 2-2 to this point this season, heading into your, well, not your region opener, because one of your two was a 27-0 region win over Clarksville Northwest in Region 7 6A action a couple of weeks ago. But last Thursday night, you guys kind of had Thursday night to yourselves and a big win going on the road at Gallatin. And no matter what shape Gallatin is in, going to their place and picking up a victory is a pretty big deal. You guys did so to the tune of a 10-7 decision there to get to 2-2. And, 2 weeks prior, couldn't score in a 22-2 loss over at Columbia Central. What has taken place here over the last couple of weeks with the Cougars to kind of get you guys headed in the right direction?
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, obviously we did struggle early in both of our first two ball games against Creekwood and Columbia of moving the football and getting points. And so us as coaches, we had to basically just sit down and say, look, what are our personnel? What do you think we can be good at? How can we put our kids in the best situation possible to succeed? And we made some changes in our scheme a little bit in some cases, and we also made some changes in some personnel to alleviate a little pressure off of a couple of kids. Like, for example, we had a couple of our inside linebackers was playing a lot of offense, and we let them focus on the defensive side of the ball now, and we're putting a little more emphasis on some other guys there on offense, and it seems to have worked so far. We've had a lot of success. I didn't say a lot, but we've definitely had more success the last 2 weeks, and we're getting better every week in the offensive side. They're coming together. They playing great as a team. Right now, which was also something we struggled at early, but they're playing for that name on their chest now, and it's really showing.
And playing with some confidence, I would imagine, after this couple of weeks. I mean, things have been a little up and down for you guys since your arrival at Dickson County. What is this, your third year now? Is that right?
Yes, we are in the third year.
And 6-5 last year, a opening round out to eventual state titleist Houston. Struggled a little bit your first season as well, but do you feel like, and I know you don't want to put a whole lot into 4 games, but do you feel like maybe you're starting to turn a corner a little bit with this program?
I think so. And that year 3, year 4 is when you really want to see it. And I think you can see it more at practice. You can see it more in the way the kids carry themselves, the confidence that they have in their abilities. Now, when they walked on the field at Gallatin the other night, previous Dickson County teams would have been, playing not to lose. Well, we didn't play not to lose. We played to win. And they walked on that field confident in their ability to win. And again, like you said, a Gallatin's always that tough team, no matter what their record shows or what they look, how they are from year to year. And, my dad actually made that comment 2 or 3 weeks ago. He said, you've had some progress and you've made some changes of different things, and y'all have won the games you're supposed to win, but you don't have a statement win yet. And in order for this program to move forward, we need, you're going to have to figure out a way to beat somebody that maybe you're not supposed to, or at least somebody that you're not expected to. And I think that happened last Thursday. And so we can build off of that. And we look forward to what's to come now and how we can move forward after that big win on Thursday.
Dad didn't sugarcoat it, did he?
No, he didn't. And that's what I said. I was like, thanks, Dad. Good grief. I'm not trying to do, I'm working here and we're trying to get this team better. And you just come right out and say, well, you ain't done nothing yet, and he's right. And, I think now we're maybe starting to do that.
Yeah. Friends like that, you don't need enemies, right? Yes, but but hey, at the same time, he's keeping it real with you. And that's kind of what parents do. So kudos to him for saying it, even though it wasn't necessarily what you wanted to hear at the time.
No, it's exactly what we needed to hear, though.
Yeah, well, there you go. Again, big one coming up tomorrow night. Kirkwood undefeated.
Yeah, absolutely. Chad does a great job. Coach Watson over there has done a great job with that program, and they're a well-rounded football team, playing great on defense and not giving up any points, and an offense that can throw it and run it. So he's really got that thing moving in the right direction. They're a year older and stronger than they were last year. Last year's first year in program history, and you could tell that of their youth, but they don't have that now. They're not a youth football team anymore. They've grown up, and they got plenty of upperclassmen that can play, and some of them have already received offers and scholarships from places around the southeast or the country, and it's going to be a tough test for us for sure. I really do. I like the matchup, though. I think it'll be a great football game. I think it'll be one for, especially in that area, that Clarksville area. If you're coming out to watch a football game and you want to find one to come watch, that's the one to go to. And it should be a lot of fun tomorrow night.
A lot of orange in that one.
Yeah. We'll be in white. So, but I tell you what, we wore our blue pants last week because we was afraid of the weather and the rain. We didn't want to go all white because we didn't want to have to wash those white pants. So we might be in blue pants again tomorrow night just because
you're not superstitious. You're just a little stitious, right? Yeah.
I love the practicality of last week. Hey, if we could go out and we'd look okay in these, but do we really want to take the time to wash all this after?
Yeah, that's right. Don't think it didn't cross our minds. Like, look, and the reason we played last Thursday, obviously, we thought, well, if we play in the rain, maybe it wouldn't have rained very long, and the field conditions would still be in great shape versus it raining for 24 straight hours and trying to play it on Friday. But either way, neither one of those things occurred or happened, so we could have played it at any time and been perfectly fine. But yeah, you never know. We'll probably be in blue pants tomorrow night.
Jeff Tomlinson, Dickson County football coach, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley Eat Play Party. Jeff, you came to Dickson County again 3 years ago after having a very successful tenure up at Montgomery Central.
Yes.
And there were questions in some circles, I guess, given the success that you had at Montgomery Central, given the lack of success over a lengthy period of time that Dickson County has had on the football field. Why is he taking that job? So, Jeff, why'd you take that job?
I felt like, and I love Montgomery Central. Don't get me wrong. I love the community. I love the school and the friendships that we made there, the kids, the way they work, their hard work that they put into it. I just felt like that we were in a situation where it has grown as big as it could grow. And we were playing 4A, which would, trust me, we were playing the top-notch 4A with Pearl Cone and Tullahoma and, Marshall County. So it wasn't like we weren't playing great competition, because that was that's some of the toughest competition around, no matter what class. But I was ready for a new challenge, and going to a 6A school in Dickson. I was familiar with the Dickson County area. I grew up not too far from here. I'd coached at Creekwood for a little while, so I had some friends and some colleagues around here that was, that I was comfortable with Coach Daniel and, both Coach Daniels, Coach Dwayne Daniel, who was at Cheatham County for a while, and then Coach Chuck Daniel, who was at Creekwood when I was there. And I just thought it was an exciting situation for me, and a new challenge, and I was ready for a new challenge, and so that's kind of where it went from there. And I've pulled my hair out the last 3 years, but I've also enjoyed every minute of it, trying to rebuild this program like we did at Central.
Coach, I wanted to ask you just kind of simply, you guys got to go on the road again after such an emotional, hard-fought game and physical game last week. And it sounds like you've learned a lot already about your team. But what's maybe one or two things you would like to see, win or lose, your squad execute tomorrow night?
Probably the biggest thing, we played a very complete game the other night in terms of all three phases of the football game. But there's two things that really, I guess, that we would like to see us do a little bit better job of. And one of those is in the special teams area of being able to capitalize when we get inside the red zone, whether it's field goal or whether it's a touchdown on the offensive side. So, we didn't capitalize. We didn't statement drives. It's 10-7 the other night, but it really could have been 21 or 24-7 just as easily if we can capitalize inside the red zone. So that's one thing that we've got to that we've definitely got to work with, and from a special teams and an offensive standpoint. The other side of that is playing with that confidence, or just continue to play with that confidence and continue to carry a little swag. You don't have to be cocky, but you do definitely need to you need to have a little bit of a swag in your game, especially on the defensive side, and know that, you know, when you walk out there defensively, that you're in control of the football game, and we want our defense to play like that. And I think we did when we were back at Central, and that was what we kind of hung our hat on our defense, and we try to do the same thing here. You know, I want that defense to take that role and say, all right, I'll take the responsibility of being the face of this the football team, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, 7 points the last 2 weeks. You mentioned kind of the defense at large. Whether it's offense or defense, what unit, if you want to shout out anybody, who maybe you most proud of at this point in the early part of the season, individually, I guess, on either side of the ball?
The greatest, the best part about our defense right now is there's three phases to it. Obviously, the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary, and they've all complemented each other really well. We are very senior heavy in the back end with our secondary. Our corners, safeties are senior heavy. Ben Hongsermeyer, who plays corner for us, had an unbelievable night the other night against Gallatin. Had 4 pass breakups, 2 of which could have possibly been intercepted. One of them, I'm glad he didn't intercept because it was on a 4th down. It saved us about 15 yards where he had a diving. It was a diving play where he broke a play up. But he had an outstanding game at his corner spot. And then the group that I'm probably most proud of is the group that's the youth movement at linebacker. We start 3 sophomores right there in the middle of linebacker, and they have played outstanding in what role we've asked them to play. And, that's Martez Stewart, Quincy Blue, and Hunter Webb. And they've really done a good job. Now, you can't. They've done a really good job because the D-line has done their job too. Right. And so, they're doing their thing up front and keeping our linebackers free and clean and letting them run. And it's really, like I said, they've complemented each other well. So especially the last 2 weeks defensively, if they can keep playing like that, we will. Our defensive unit is really tough to handle.
Jeff Tomlinson, football coach at Dickson County, joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by 10 Pin Alley. And Jeff, when you're facing a quarterback like a Michael Strout, you've got to be sound on the back end. And so to get that kind of performance out of your secondary last week was really kind of critical, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that back end will tell you they were thankful for the 3 guys up front, and we actually 4 because we got 3 down linemen, but we're bringing pressure from somewhere. Either we don't know where, because it's coming from somewhere every snap in a different place. But the game plan for us was to pressure him straight up the middle and push him out of the pocket, put pressure right in his face and get him on the move. And they did a good job of doing that, which threw off timing routes and threw off things in his time and in the game. It did burn us a few times with him scrambling for 8, 10, 12 yards, but we were willing to risk that versus him letting him be comfortable in the pocket and throw it down the field. But yeah, the back end played extremely well.
2-2 now with these back-to-back wins, one of those being a region win a couple of weeks ago. And again, that confidence and that momentum is going to be really important for you guys, I would imagine, because this game tomorrow night at Kirkwood is the first of 3 straight Region 7 6A games, and each of your next 3 opponents as of right now is undefeated, because after you go to Kirkwood tomorrow night, Clarksville comes to your place a week from tomorrow night, followed by you hosting Rossview the first weekend in October. Again, each of those 3 teams 4-0 overall as we sit here right now. So the schedule kind of steps up a little bit.
Yeah, and it certainly does. You don't want to take anything away from that back end, that last 3 games after the bye week to finish the season off. But the next 3 weeks is really going to tell us where we stand. It'll tell us a lot about what it looks like in terms of region seeding and playoffs and all of those things to go. And it would be nice, obviously, to win all 3 of those. But as a coaching staff, and we look at it, in our game in our side point, obviously we want to win all 3, but if we could finish 2-1 out of the next 3 games, we would be would feel pretty comfortable with where we sit.
I'm a Braves fan, and I know you say right now you take 2-1, but if you beat Kirkwood and Clarksville,
yes,
then all of a sudden you're going to be wanting to be 3-0 in those 3 games.
Without a doubt. You beat Kirkwood and Clarksville, then 2-1's not acceptable anymore.
Things have changed.
Yeah. 2-1's not acceptable anymore.
Not at all. I get it. Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us. We're sorry we couldn't see you, but again, we understand technology is an elusive
Yeah, and I'm
thing
sure, like I said, I'm
sometimes.
sure it's my fault because I'm not real smart when it comes to technology. So I'm sure I'm doing something wrong on my end. But again, I apologize for that.
That's okay. Keep doing the right thing on the gridiron, and we hope we'll catch up with you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Go Cougars.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, before we get out of this segment, want to give out a couple of awards. Our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week outside of the military athletics is one of your biggest team building exercises, and Custom Stone Handlers invites you to get in the game. Again, our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week is the Culleoka Lady Warriors. Won a couple of district games last week, and as we've mentioned in some other venues, it's tough to lose if you don't give up a point. Culleoka defeated Loretto 9-0 and Cornersville 4-0 in those 2 district matchups last week. So
Defense getting it done.
Yep, wins championships.
They say that, and Culleoka, man, yeah, they have been producing for the last couple of years now, been producing some quality teams, and this year is no different.
Absolutely. So the Culleoka Lady Warriors, again, are our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week. Our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week, fullback / linebacker Ethan Plunkett of Mount Pleasant, who rushed for 63 yards, many of those coming in the second half as Mount Pleasant was trying to close out their victory over visiting Harpeth, and had a 30-yard scoop and score for the winning touchdown in that 15-7 win. So also had 7 total tackles, 1 for loss. So big night on both sides of the ball for the senior Evan Plunkett, our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to him, and again to the Culleoka Lady Warriors soccer team as well. That's going to close out segment 2 of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we'll talk a little baseball, and the news is good. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia, but now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. With the Braves' 6-0 win over visiting Philadelphia, Bobby Cox became the 12th manager in Major League history to win 1,800 career games. Cox retired at the end of the 2010 season, finishing with 2,504 victories, currently the fourth most in MLB history and surpassed only by Connie Mack, Tony La Russa, and John McGraw. Of those four, only McGraw has a higher winning percentage. That was this day in Braves history.
Like a rock.
And again, in addition to the 2,504 victories, Bobby holds by a long margin the record for most ejections. So,
one of those untouchable records?
Particularly now.
Yeah.
Because with the review system and everything like that, you're not going to have nearly the arguments and the dust ups and that kind of thing that you did back then. So yeah, this is odd, given the era that Cox managed in. His career record is 2,504 wins, 2,001 losses. But he's credited with 3 ties.
How many All-Star games did he do?
I don't know if that he had a tie in 1981, apparently, in 1984, and in 2002. And I don't know how that works. Now, 81 was a strike season. I don't know if that had anything to do with that or not. But that's odd. 84, he was with the Blue Jays. 2002, he had returned to the Braves by then. But yeah, Bobby Cox, 2,504, 2001, and 3 all time.
That's like, who's it? I think Nick Saban has at least 1 tie on his college record, which is always kind of funny.
And I guess that was before they enacted.
College record, 292, 71, and 1. And I think he tied like Purdue when he was at Michigan State. I think it was who that was. It's random. Anytime they flash that, it always kind of just, you take it back to that kind of distant era, it feels like. But that was a real thing back in the day.
Yeah.
But the MLB one, that's kind of a real head scratcher. I don't even know how that happens.
I don't either. Yeah, it's intriguing. If anybody wants to look that up and get back to us, feel free. You know where to find us. We mentioned the Sounds are at Norfolk. They continue to struggle in Norfolk, losing 8-4 in a day game today. So they will finish up tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, and that'll close out the regular season for them. Hope to have Jeff Helm, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, on with us tomorrow. Need to reach out and make sure that he is available to join us, but look forward to that.
I wonder how many tie games he has called.
Good question.
Over under set at half a game.
There we go.
Has he done one?
I think I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. I'll have to ask him that though. See, maybe he probably knows the exact situations that occurred in 81, 84, and 2002.
Jeff is a very knowledgeable individual. It would not surprise me if he did. Braves bounced back from their disappointing 6-5 loss Tuesday at Cincinnati with a 7-1 victory last night, and they lead this one 12-3 in the bottom of the eighth. I think they've had like 4 home runs in this one. Again, the Great American Small Park living up to its name. So I believe Matt Olson has homered in each game in this series. Michael Harris has homered in each game of this series. So maybe this will be the series that the Braves need to kind of unlock this offense a little bit, because last night the Mets defeated Washington 10-0, dropping the Braves or keeping the Braves 2 games back in the chase for that final wild card spot coming out of the National League. So the Braves are going to have to make up some ground here at some point. Again, they got to stay close enough to make those 3 games at Truist next week against the Mets mean something. As of right now, it feels like Chris Sale is going to move to 18-3 on the year. He was the starter here today and benefited from all of this offense. So we will see what the next 4 outs for the Cincinnati Reds hold. Again, 12-3 with 2 outs in the bottom of the eighth. The Braves lead.
Hey, real quick, here's one. Go back to 2002. Rob Nin of Giants fame blew a 2-run lead. The Braves tie the game 3-3, and then in the 10th inning, they had a 2.5-hour rain delay. They called it at that point and said, "We're tired of waiting around. We will come back if we need to."
And they didn't need
to.
So there's the 2002 tie.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to the 80s, but that's at least from 2002. And imagine that, by the way. Yeah, you blow a lead, and then you got to wait 2.5 hours just to be told, "Well, we're done."
We're done. It's like we could have been gone 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah,
you could have done this a long time ago.
You could have not blown the lead, or we could have just called it the second that we felt our first raindrop and not waited 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Houston, despite their 4-0 loss at San Diego last night, has a 5-game lead in the American League West because the Mariners fell 2-1 in 10 to the Yankees. And I've not seen it, but apparently there is a lot of buzz on the socials regarding a base running blunder on the part of the Mariners outfielder, number 44.
Not Rodriguez.
Yes, Julio Rodriguez.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's like they're discussing it like in little league terms. It's like, can you believe this at the major league level? Yeah. Again, I've not seen it, but
weird. Here's a headline from MLB: "Weird situation," quote, ends in pick off at third and loss. And so that's right. I mean, kind of like the Braves, right? Every game is magnified. You're basically in the playoffs right now. The Mariners are in the playoffs. The Astros are in the playoffs. The Braves and the Mets are in the playoffs, in the sense that every game matters going forward. And when baseball starts to really, really matter, that's when these crazy situations, man, they just sting even worse. And so if you're a Mariners fan, that is
you're not real happy with your all-star right now. Yeah. That win for the Yankees clinched a playoff berth. They became the first team to clinch a 2024 playoff berth.
I'm going to send this to see if we can get Mark to put. This is a crazy clip that I'm just watching for the first time.
Okay. All right. The Brewers won last night, clinching the National League Central. So as of right now, 2 of 12 postseason berths are accounted for. More to come. We mentioned Ryan Weathers yesterday making his first start coming off of the injured list. He went 4 1/3 innings yesterday, gave up 8 hits, 5 runs, 3 home runs, struck out 5 as the Dodgers defeated the Marlins 8-4. But again, nice to see those numbers taking place at the major league level for the former Loretto High School standout, who again was rolling before the finger injury on his left hand that he sustained mid-season, back before the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, we wondered too. Number one, you're coming off the injury. Number two, yesterday we talked about it. You throwing right into the fire.
Yeah.
Here you go, buddy.
Go get them.
And it's not as if we got much of an offense to back up behind you. I mean, so you better throw a no-hitter or a shutout because we're not probably going to give you much in terms of our offense.
Not a whole lot of room.
Not a bad effort by Mr. Weathers.
Yeah.
See if you can pull that if that link will work, Mark, because this is a very unusual base.
It's a general page.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'll keep digging because this is worthy of checking out here.
Ronald Acuna has been out for a pretty good while for Atlanta with that knee injury, but there is an Acuna who is wreaking havoc. Luis Angel Acuna got the call up by the Mets over the weekend and hit his first major league home run on Tuesday night. So it'll be interesting when the Mets come into Atlanta next week with him. What kind of playing time he gets, what kind of reception he gets at Truist. So looking forward to that. Finally, two things. One, Craig Kimbrell was designated for assignment by the Baltimore Orioles last night. And they're talking like this may be it for him. Kind of getting to that point in his career. Closer for the Orioles wasn't closing. That's never a good sign.
No, and honestly, he's one of those guys that's kind of you scratch your head and you're like, man, he's still getting it done. And I suppose. And he's got some relatives in southern Middle Tennessee, being from North Alabama. A couple of folks in Pulaski with some kin folk, if you will. So kind of kept tabs on him. But yeah, it's kind of one of those that I was kind of more so shocked that he was still around. As good as he's been, Father Time, eventually he is undefeated. Yeah. And even at 36, it just felt like feels like those folks that are just really those flamethrowers too. I mean, that goes out quicker than
Nolan Ryan accepted.
Yes, yeah. Other than that, you're good. So hopefully it's not the end of the road unless he wants it to be, and maybe he'll get another shot, and we'll go from there.
We have the video.
All right, check this out. This is Julio Rodriguez. He's at third base.
Okay.
Runners lead 2-2. Swing and a miss.
Cool.
And the ball is thrown to third, and they get J-Rod.
So the batter swings, misses, tosses his bat by accident. And apparently J-Rod was off the bag and just watching the play, I suppose.
And the ball is thrown to
Which, I mean, hey, if I'm in third and the bat's coming toward me, I'm getting out of the way too.
Well, I mean, it faked out the cameras as well. So, but yeah, oh goodness.
I'd like to see another angle. I couldn't find one on short notice because, I mean, if a bat is coming at me, I don't care where the ball is. I'm moving out of the way of the bat.
But you got to be moving back.
But back toward the bag. I guess that's a fair point, right? You can avoid the bat while standing safely on the bag.
Yeah.
No one says you got to be 5 feet off the bag. So the Mariners, for them to lose like that, that is tough. And that puts them 5 back in that division in the West. And so in a perfect world, growing up, I got a soft spot. I think everybody in the 90s got a soft spot for the Mariners because of Ken Griffey back in the day. So frustrating. You'd like to see them. I would like, in a perfect world, them and the Astros to make the postseason, but I don't think the world is perfect right now because the Central is going to gobble up a couple of bids, it looks like.
Yeah.
And so the Mariners, that might be the one that breaks them 5 games back now.
Wow. The White Sox went 10 innings with the Angels before losing 4-3 last night. They are now 36-117. In order to not tie the 40-120 Mets of 1962, the White Sox have to win 7 of their last 9. At no point this season have the White Sox won 7 of 9.
Yeah, what's their longest streak? It's got to be like 3 games.
I don't know
4?
What their longest winning streak is, but they have lost 12 or more on 3 different occasions this season.
Oof.
So, I mean, this record is going to go down.
Let's see if we can find this here. Longest win streak. I don't know that this list that I'm finding has them on there. This list bottoms out at 5, so I don't know if. So it sounds like
they've won 5 straight.
No, I'm saying they're not on this list. So the last place is. They did win 4 games from May 8th through May 11th. That might be their longest.
Were the Braves in that stretch?
These are that's a good question. Apparently, the longest MLB streak this season is the Twins with a 12-game stretch from April to May, 22nd to 4th. That's only double digits. The Guardians, the Mets, and the Astros, the Guardians and the Mets have 2 9-game streaks. But yeah, this list goes all the way down. Obviously, multiple teams have won 4 or 5 games multiple times in a row. But the White Sox have not. They're not on this list. They're basically like, if you hadn't won 5 games, we don't acknowledge you, and they're not on this list.
There we go. Mark says he's found a better angle to the Julio.
Let's see if we can get some more behind this here.
Two. Swing and a miss.
Okay, there goes the bat.
And the ball is thrown to third, and they get J-Rod. Oh, what a happenstance. Rosarena strikes out, lets go of the bat. Rodriguez trying to get out of the way, straight too far off of third, and then the quick throw to Chisholm for the double play.
Wow, this is amazing right here. You watch this great pitch, and there goes the bat, and Rodriguez gets out of the way. But the only problem is...
Oh, man.
Oh.
2-2.
Strike him out. Throw him. Yeah, that's tough. Man,
that is brutal. That's brutal.
I mean, he was halfway to the dugout.
The White Sox won 3 straight from the 14th to the 16th just here recently. 2 over Oakland and the opener Monday night against the Angels. That's their longest streak of the second half of the season.
They got the Padres, the Angels, and the Tigers to close it out. That 7 to 9 ain't happening. 7 to 9
is not.
Call me a naysayer, but no, I'm not feeling it.
Let a naysayer know.
Come on.
We're a little over for hour number 1 of Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today. So let's go ahead and take a break from the Lee Company studios. When we return, again, it is Throwback Thursday. We will be throwing it back to a recent conversation with Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado. So stay tuned when we come back from this break. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a Weatherby.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We will visit with CBS Sports Colorado's former Buffalo, Justin Adams. So this situation is kind of hitting on a different level for journalist Justin Adams. So Justin, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Brother, I'm doing well. I did finally get all the red off my face from that Nebraska game. I went to Lincoln.
I saw that.
Yeah. You know, they got some really great fans over there. I describe Nebraska fans like this. If you're sick, they will go, man, give you some chicken noodle soup. They'll wrap you up in a blanket if you're cold. They'll kick up your feet, man, if you need something just to relax on. And then they'll put an 85-inch TV in front of your face while they're beating you by 50. That's exactly what they'll do to you.
Will and did, huh? You know, Justin, the Deion Sanders era at Colorado began with obvious excitement and with good reason. Where are Colorado fans on the Deion Sanders experience right now?
I think a lot of fans, and for good reason, I may add, they saw the 3-0 start last year. They saw the 4-2 start last year, and they saw the Stanford game, the first half, and they thought, okay, we're going to be good. Everything's turned around. This team was 1-11 the year before. We see the talent on the field. We're going to a bowl game. And then the second half of the Stanford game, everything has changed. And the team has only won one game since then. And that one game was against an FCS team. So a lot of people are really trying to figure out what's this team about. And so once you go to Nebraska and you lose in the fashion that you've lost against Nebraska, where your offensive line was getting dominated, giving up 5 sacks, it felt like 20 sacks, right? Where you couldn't run the ball to the point where you didn't even try to run the ball. There are some people in town who are just saying, I'm out on Deion Sanders. I'm out on the Coach Prime experience. There are others who are saying, hey, you still got to be patient. Let's see what happens. I will tell you this. This game against Colorado State coming up is a big game for many reasons. There are a lot of fans who will look and say, if you don't beat Colorado State, then they're completely out, even though you're in year 2 of your regime. So it's a big game for Coach Prime, big game for the Colorado Buffaloes in order to be the in-state rival at their place for once.
And, you know, you being a, quote, Power 4 member, Colorado State being a Group 5 member. But, you know, Jay Norvell, and I mean, we saw Colorado State last season come into Middle Tennessee State and take care of the Blue Raiders. I mean, that is not a bad football team. And you can't just throw your black and gold helmets out there on the field and come off with a win.
No, especially when the game is going to be in Fort Collins for the first time since 1996. Think about this, guys. The first time since 96. I don't know what you were doing, but I sure wasn't talking about football in 96, all right? I think I was playing with some G.I. Joe toys or something like that at the time. But it's that type of game where you're going to have a similar atmosphere to what you had in Nebraska, at least to the point of that is going to mean so much more to the people at Fort Collins. You have to match that intensity and then surpass it and let your talent actually win over. But this is one of those games where I hope it's not the Shedeur Sanders show 100%. I hope that you really go out and say, we can run the football. We can exert our will, because if you can, you will help make sure that Shedeur doesn't take all those unnecessary hits that he has in the first 2 games.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, because when they had a chance to put that North Dakota State game away a couple of weeks ago, they didn't run the ball. They were up 5, and all they had to do was just basically run the clock out, and they're throwing the ball out to the perimeter because, you know, as we talked to David Ubben of The Athletic, who was in Boulder that night, they couldn't establish a push up front. I mean, for everything else and for all of the kids that have come in there during Deion's tenure, no offensive lineman?
Yeah, you know what's interesting, too, is that that's tough to say because take a look at Oregon State. And the majority of the offensive linemen that played at Colorado last year are now at Oregon State, and they can run the football. Some of it's just a mindset type of deal. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is we understand that we have a nice quarterback. I get it, right? When USC had Caleb Williams, they want to throw the ball over the field, too. I get it. But in the same way, you still have to go and play the fundamentals and play complementary football. If you're not going to run the rock, you're going to leave your offensive line that hasn't gelled together at all. You're going to leave them at a loss, right? You're going to leave Shedeur Sanders on an island being ready to get tackled by anybody. And when you look at last week, for example, he couldn't step up in the pocket. When you have a big guy who's pushing the middle of the pocket, right? And you can't step up, then what's going to happen? You have the guys on the edges that are able to make plays, and then you get jittery in the pocket, and you have to go outside the pocket to make plays happen. And that's what we saw last week, and that's the reason why that Shedeur was sacked as many times as he was. So you have to make that a mindset. You have to say, we're going to run the football, figure out a way how to get it done, because at the end of the day, these are D1 athletes, and this isn't the first time that they have went out and said, we're going to run the football on somebody else and exert our will on someone else. Figure out a way how to get it done and do it this week.
And Justin, I'm curious. 2 things can be true at once, and it feels like this program more than any program that could apply to, because Sanders, with his comments after the game about the play of the offensive line, you know, yes, maybe worthy of some criticism in the sense that he was kind of bashing some teammates, but his point was valid. He said, hey, Raiola didn't get hit. Did you see how many hits Raiola took? Look how many hits I took. I just find it fascinating that this team has got some obvious flaws, and they're trending kind of in the right direction, but because of the attention and the scrutiny, man, it makes it really tough to kind of solve some of those problems in real time, it feels like.
It's really the microscope, right? That's on one thing, right? So it keeps you away from looking at all the different things that you actually have that's going right for your team. It keeps you away from looking and saying, hey, this is a defense that shut out a team in the second half. And don't get me wrong, like, we know that you're up 28-0, but last year CU was up 29-0 on Stanford. And how did that work out in the second half, right? So you still had a defense that showed up then and was able to apply their pressure, exert their force on Nebraska from there. But I'm of the belief that you cannot say that we cannot run the football if you do not try to run the football. Fellas, the running backs run the ball 5 times. 5 times. Think about that. 5 times in the first half. What are we doing? One of those times was 4th and 1, and you're running the ball out of shotgun. So let me get this right. You're going to run the ball out of shotgun, hand it off to somebody on a zone concept, and you're trying to pick up 1 yard, and you think that's going to work? What are we doing here? So that's where you look at what Nebraska was doing. They had jet motions. They had all these other different deals. They had so many different runs in their package. They were able to go and, again, I said it earlier, exert their force on the Buffs. What I would love to see from Colorado this week is to not just say that we're going to make a commitment to the running game. I would just say, just do it. Figure it out. If it's pistol set, if it's under center, bring in a fullback, bring in a tight end. Heck, bring me in. I got 2 more years left of eligibility. I know I'm old and dusty and washed, but heck, bring me in. I'll help out, okay? Just bring somebody in the game. Finally try to run the football. And if you go 3 runs and punt, then guess what? You go 3 punts and run. And punt, 3 runs and punt, because it's not just about this game, but it's about when you get into conference play to be able to know that you can go up against the Kansas States, the Utahs, go on the road at Kansas, and be able to win those games. And I guarantee you, if you're just one-dimensional, I don't care how good your quarterback is, if you're one-dimensional in the Big 12, you will be beat, or we'll just call you Texas Tech, and we'll see how far they have gone in their program.
Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado joining us here on Main Street Sports today. You know, as a former player, like I said, I'm sure this hits a little differently. Do you feel like watching what this has devolved into is a little bit more frustrating.
Well, it's more frustrating because you see the talent. That's what's frustrating about it, right? Like, it's frustrating when you have a team that you know what they could do. You know that they're much better than what they showed you against Nebraska in a primetime game, and they, crap the bed that way. I hope we can say that, right? They did what my baby girl does in her diaper, right? She's 2, by the way. She's getting potty trained, but in any respects, it's frustrating because this team is close. And that's what it comes down to, is that this team can really do a lot of things. It's interesting, BJ Green, who's one of their defensive linemen, he doesn't have any sacks, and he came over from Arizona State, but he's the type of guy who can get a lot of sacks, and he says, look, we're just close. If I could go and cut down on my steps, if I could go and make sure that I just give myself a half second in order to get to the quarterback, those quarterback hits will become sacks. I feel that the same way with this team, is that if you put them in the right position to succeed, they have enough talent to make plays out there on the field. But again, you just haven't showed it yet. And you're still talking about a team that, going back to last year against Stanford, has had one win, and that's against an FCS opponent.
I was just ready to ask you, Justin, from the national narrative, this has been kind of such a fascinating experiment from the jump. And that game last year, I remember staying up super late to watch that double overtime matchup last year. I mean, it was absolutely electric. Now my question is, does the national media, does the national spotlight check out potentially with a loss this weekend in this Rocky Mountain Showdown?
With the loss, I don't think they check out. I think they check in, and they put all the checks on the right side, right? The L's, and they're going to come down as hard as they can on how this experiment isn't working, how Coach Prime has no idea what he's doing, what's going on at the University of Colorado. They're just back at square one. But what I would tell you is this: Fox has the Colorado Baylor game the following week in prime time. Mm-hmm. People will continue to watch. So even as you say that, yeah, they may not be the team that deserves to be the Alabamas or the Ohio States from a viewership perspective. That's what they're getting. They're getting those type of numbers. So I cannot think of a world where they lose to Colorado State this week, especially after how they were getting blasted last week in Nebraska. But if that does happen, it will make the end of September very interesting and very dicey in Boulder.
And I guess that was kind of my point, is we have these nationally televised games because of the attention, and then if the results kind of fall off, and especially I remember that second half of the season last year, there were still some big primetime games, and man, the attention was just not there. A 7-point favorite on the road, I just don't know. I'll be fascinated to watch this game, because until I see Colorado do it on the road as a big favorite like that, I don't know what to expect, just to be honest with you, going into this game this weekend.
And you said the biggest thing that everyone's saying. We don't know what to expect. Honestly, we have no idea what to expect, because the first game you could say, okay, North Dakota State, one of the top FCS teams, we get it, we understand, right? Even though they were really 4 yards away from upsetting Colorado at home. If they would have got that Hail Mary, it would have 4 more yards, right? So we just looked at that game and said, okay, there's some things we could look at. Travis Hunter had a tremendous game with 3 touchdowns in that one. Now you look at this game going up against Colorado State, and you're saying, you got to win this one. You got to figure out a way how to win this one. And you look at the Rams, and they're playing with, as I like to say, church money. Like, there's no pressure on their shoulders, because if they win, then they will be the story of all college football for, 24 hours, 48 hours? But if the Buffs win, then it's you did what you're supposed to do, now go into conference play, and now beat Baylor. Like, that's what you were supposed to do. So it's an interesting game on both sides. Very interesting to see what will happen. And I guarantee you that everyone will be tuned in to CBS to see what happens in this one.
Justin, I don't know how much access or how often the Colorado press corps has access to AD Rick George. How's he feeling right now?
Ooh, that's a good one. I saw Rick. Interestingly enough, I saw Rick before the Nebraska game. There was an alumni event, and I was there. And I went to the game, the Nebraska game, as a fan. So as an alum, I just went there. I just wanted to see something different and check it out from there. And he looked very calm. He didn't look disheveled at all. And I think of this. Rick wants to win in the worst way. He wants to win. But Rick's also cashing those checks now. There's a lot of checks that's coming through to the University of Colorado because may not be fully the success on the field as of yet, but you are getting those eyeballs. And so you're cashing checks from there. You do want to win. I think there's a little bit of uneasiness that he may have. Now, is there any idea that he's going to fire, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders? Is he going to do that? No, that's not going to happen, right? But what I could see is, hey, man, we really got to, if we want to keep any type of momentum going, these are the type of wins we must have. I mean, you look at Colorado's schedule. You beat Colorado State. You figure out a way how to beat Baylor at home, which you'll be favored in that one. Then you go to Central Florida. That's a very interesting game because if you do win that game, you're going into a bye week at 4-1. And think about that, guys. With 7 games remaining, you're 4-1. And don't get me wrong, the last part of the schedule is extremely difficult. But you can find 2 more wins. You're at Texas Tech. You have Cincinnati at home. There's a way to be able to get to a bowl game before you get to the gauntlet at the end of the season. But it all comes back to handling your business. And I tell you what, if you handle your business, then Rick George and the rest of the Black and Gold faithful and all the Prime fans, they'll be very satisfied about the season.
Are Colorado and Deion Sanders kind of victims of expectations?
Yeah, expectations that you put on yourself, right? Because the first year it was more so of, and there's a term that he says, first year is more of an introduction. This year is now of expectation. That's not my words, right? That's Deion Sanders saying, this is the year of expectation. Well, if this is the year of expectation, then you have to go and get some results in the W column and not losses. And you don't want your team to look the same way that they did last year, because that's exactly what we saw. And nobody wants to see the same story we played over and over and over again, where Shador is in 5 wide receiver sets and being sacked before he gets to his drop. Like, you don't want to see that. You want to see this team to be able to come out and play well. So the biggest thing is to come out different. And if you're going to go and at least compete in the Big 12 to be one of those teams, then you better find yourself a running game. Defense, I think, will be fine. But you need to find yourself a running game, or you're not going to beat Kansas State. Guys, you know this. You're not going to beat Kansas State. You're not going to beat Utah at Utah, or Utah's coming to Boulder. You're not going to beat Oklahoma State when they have one of the best running backs in the nation. You just go down the line. If you're going to be able to do that, even Texas Tech, right? I talked a little bit about them and their air raid spread out system. You still have to control the clock. You have to control that ball. You have to force some turnovers. And what's the best way to do it is to get on top of teams and to be able to put pressure on them. I will say one of the biggest things this year that has been a little bit disappointing about the Buffs, they haven't had the lead in the first quarter. I would say not they haven't had the lead in the first quarter, but they haven't taken the – did they have – wait a minute. Let me take that back. They had the lead a little bit against North Dakota State, but they haven't scored first. That's my biggest frustration with this team, is that they haven't got off to a fast start on offense or on defense. North Dakota State, what did they do in their first drive? They went down, they scored a field goal. Sure, the Buffs went down on their first drive and scored a touchdown, but North Dakota State came right back down and scored a touchdown. Back and forth from there. What happened against Nebraska? You're looking at 28-0 before you know it. It got to the point where it's 21-0. And guys, I remember playing video games. If it's 21-0, you get kicked off the sticks. So you're talking about a team that would have been kicked off the sticks last week. So at what point will the Buffs be the team that actually punches first and not have to try to counterpunch? That's what I want to see for this team, to come out on offense or defense. I don't care if you have the ball first, but you need to go and punch first and not give up points.
Absolutely. And Justin, I was going to ask you real quick before we get you out of here, what did you take away? There's a lot of national chatter about Nebraska after that win last week. And obviously Raiola at least looks like the part. And he's doing his best Patrick Mahomes impersonations with all of his headbands and the pregame theatrics. Is Nebraska set up for success this year, or are they maybe still a year away in your mind?
They have a legitimate D-line. They have a really good schedule that's going to really help boost them up, especially the top 25. They'll be one of the teams that can win 8-9 games. They can even sneak and win 10, to be honest with you, just because of the way that their schedule is set up. I will say this, and I talked to a couple of friends of mine, one is an alum, the way that they're recruiting, And the way that they have 87,000, they could pack 93 into Memorial Stadium. Guys, be prepared for Nebraska to be back. 100%. And this coming from a guy who was bred to hate Nebraska. But that Go Big Red and everything that they are doing it right. Matt Rule is building up that program. Be very, very careful that you have a team that's been sleeping for a while. That's kind of like that's been underground, waiting to come back out, ready to rise from the ashes. That's a program that's ready to do so. They got a quarterback who's a freshman. He's only going to get better. They have a running game. They have a nice D-line. They're going to get some explosive wide receivers and be able to go and really have a nice defense. Be careful for Nebraska in a couple of years, guys. They could be a team that College Game Day, the rest of the college eye, comes back to again.
Get your licks in while you can, he sounds like.
Yeah, and I think, Justin, we are of different ages, but I think we have an appreciation for college football, and the same with Wade, where college football is better when certain traditional powers are good. And I think Nebraska probably fits into that category to some degree. So I think a lot of folks that aren't necessarily Nebraska fans are probably anxious to see Nebraska get back to being Nebraska.
They don't know how it is when Nebraska was Nebraska, guys. They don't understand that 95 team. I understand they won in 70, 71, 94, but that 95 team, look it up and go on YouTube. One of the best teams in college football history. They're still scoring right now against Florida.
Yeah.
He's still running somewhere.
In Florida, they're still having nightmares about Tommy Frazier right now. Absolutely.
Guys, if I may, real quick, before you let you go, that kind of gets back to what we just saw with Colorado, doesn't it? What did Florida do in that Fiesta Bowl game? They came out of 5 wide receivers and got beat up. And that's the same thing that we're seeing from Colorado. If you do not develop something else, if you do not do something else on offense to be able to help your line out, to be able just to get a different personnel grouping. When a tight end comes in, what happens? You have to change your personnel grouping and bring in another linebacker. Generally, you do. You go out of nickel and you go to 4-3. Nebraska runs a 3-3-5, right? You have to change your personnel grouping. If you don't do that, you're going to leave yourself at harm's way. And so I hope that the Buffs will be able just to change things up, run the ball a little bit more, and look, let Shedeur do his thing and get back on the winning track.
One quick thing before we let you go, and I know you went out there as a spectator, but Shedeur leaving the field early reaction was that's not a good look. There was later conjecture that there might have been an injury involved. Have we learned anything more about that? Was Shedeur injured late in that ball game, or did he just kind of throw up his hands and walk off?
Yeah, Deion Sanders said today at his media press conference that it was for evaluation. And so to evaluate, because remember, a couple of plays earlier, right, he slid, and then there was a targeting call, and they just wanted to check him out to make sure that he didn't have a concussion. And so that's when he left earlier. And to be honest with you, look, you get beat the way that you get beat anyway.
No.
He went to the locker room. Go and celebrate. Do what you do. But it's all about him being able to go and take care of himself. So it was nothing like that, nothing unsportsmanlike.
Awesome. Justin Adams of CBS Sports Colorado joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Justin, we appreciate your time, appreciate your insight, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Hey, fellas, I appreciate y'all. Hey, man, whenever I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, man, I'm going to give y'all a call, man. We got to jump on, do some lunch sometime.
Do that.
Come on.
Do that. We'll get you on live. We'll set something up. Yeah. We will figure something out. Give us a shout.
I love you guys. Be blessed, guys.
Thank you,
We'll
Justin.
talk to you.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome back to Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely getting ready for the Jets and Patriots. We'll be talking a little bit more on that in the final segment of the show. I'm Maurice Patton, and right now we're going to visit with Megan L. Hall of For the Win, talking a little WNBA. The final night of the regular season is upon us, and it's not without its dramatics as we've got three teams playing for one berth in the upcoming playoffs. And to help us, we don't need a whole lot of help breaking it down because it's really simple. But Megan, wanted to get your input. Thank you for joining us, first of all.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you're based in Atlanta. The cleanest scenario tonight is a dream win and they're in. Now, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because the Dream plays at the top seeded New York Liberty tonight. So the cleanest scenario, is it fair to say it's the least likely?
I wouldn't even say that it's the least likely because obviously we just saw the Sparks upset the New York Liberty a couple weeks ago. So that's anybody, any given night, things can happen. And I would also beg to say this too. This was a couple of months ago now, but at the time the Dream were not as healthy as they are right now. They were missing some starters, that sort of thing, and they kept it pretty close against the Liberty. So I would be curious to see what this game looks like tonight. Especially knowing that, playoffs are on the line. But there's also another scenario in which the Dream get in as well. If everyone loses, that needs to get to the 8th spot. So that is Atlanta, Chicago, and the Mystics. If all three lose, Atlanta still gets in because they own the tiebreaker when it comes to teams that they have played that are above 500 and they've beat them. So it could get really interesting tonight. Atlanta actually probably owns the most scenarios in which they could get in, but I would be curious to see what happens.
Of those three games tonight, again, Atlanta at the Liberty, what is it? Indiana is at the Mystics, and Chicago goes to Connecticut. First of all, who do you feel like is the most likely to win out of the three teams that are in the hunt?
Yeah, I would say the Mystics are actually a pretty good chance to win that game because they've given the Fever problems before. They can actually keep up with the pace that the Fever plays. They can also keep up with the scoring, and they've beaten the Fever before in Indiana. So for the Fever to come to Washington, D.C., I fully expect it to be a highly contested game. Would not shock me at all to see them win.
And so it's interesting, Megan, and again, thank you for joining us. After such an epic season, isn't it kind of awesome that the fact that we still kind of have a lot to play for on the final night of the regular season?
Yeah, I wrote about this the other day and I was like, I know this is probably making some fans' brains hurt because they're like, oh my gosh, there's way too many scenarios. But for me, I'm like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. Like, give me all the chaos. Give me all the drama. WNBA playoffs.
You fit in well here. You fit in well here. You fit in well here because we are agents of chaos whenever possible. So yeah, we like that. That's great.
Yeah, for sure. Like, give me all of that. And I think the thing is, like, you want those high stakes games, right? You want that intensity. This season has been full of those moments, and I don't expect the WNBA playoffs to be any different.
Kind of with that being said, other than sorting out the seeds, who in your mind is maybe playing the best, or who's a team that's kind of riding a bit of a hot streak going into these playoffs that you maybe wouldn't have thought otherwise as we get ready to dial up the postseason this weekend?
Yeah, I'll give you two. And I will say that I didn't think otherwise, but I'm just shocked at how good they've been. A little bit, it's the Minnesota Lynx. They've been 12-1 since the Olympic break. They have been the hottest team in the WNBA. That's even surpassing the New York Liberty, who have been just obliterating teams left and right. And then I would say the Las Vegas Aces. Remember, everyone's been thinking the sky is falling. A'ja Wilson needs help. I even said it. I'm like, listen, paging the rest of the Las Vegas Aces, please get this woman some help. And they finally kind of showed up in the last several games. It's been great to see the Aces kind of put it together. This is something I discussed a couple of weeks ago, as well as whether or not the Aces could suddenly turn it on right before the playoffs. And I won't say they've fully turned it on, but they've certainly at least flipped the switch a couple of times to say, hey, we're still here. So I think that they're in a good spot as they go into the playoffs. And so I fully expect them to at least give teams some hell, for lack of a better word. And I wouldn't be shocked as well to see them make it all the way back to the finals. It's A'ja Wilson, and if I'm going to put my money anywhere on somebody to drag a team there, it's got to be A'ja Wilson.
Boom.
Jordan theory.
Yep. Cheryl Reeve kind of bringing back some of the Paris mojo to the Lynx, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I think Cheryl probably learned a lot in the Olympics. And if you've been paying attention to anything people have said online, people have been just panning Cheryl for her lack of rotations. But it's really hard to get that many good players going at once and figuring out how to space all of those. But when you go back to a team that when you go back to a team that you've been with all year, it becomes a whole lot easier. And give really good credit to Cheryl for fine-tuning that Minnesota Lynx defense. It's been top 5 for most of the season, and that really has them playing very, very well and able to withstand a lot of these punches that they're receiving from other teams when they're dropping buckets left and right.
Megan, I'm curious, in a season where it seems like we had, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like we had more parity perhaps than we've ever had. I think that's just a function of having some good teams by and large across the league. How much of that can we, if any, expect to trickle into the postseason? How many upsets are we potentially looking at in the first round in your mind in terms of seeding?
I've got one, and it's the Indiana Fever. If they get into the playoffs and they end up playing the Connecticut Sun, I could see it happening. Now, I'm so sorry, Sun fans, if you're listening to this, just close your ears because I've been saying it for weeks now. I thought the Connecticut Sun were frauds, and not because they didn't deserve to be there, but because I felt like they haven't been fully playing up to their potential. There's way too much talent on that team for them to be dropping some of the games that they did. But I will also say this. Indiana and the Sun have been a back and forth battle. And maybe, again, I love chaos. I want to see Dejanay Carrington against Caitlin Clark. That is like must-see television. Also, Alyssa Thomas against Aaliyah Boston. And then Can Marina Mabry, if she's inserted into the starting lineup, or even if DeWanna Bonner gets going again, can they keep up with the Kelsey Mitchell on the floor, who has been an absolute force since the Olympic break? So I'm here for the chaos again. Like, I'm not going to be upset if there's an upset. Like, I think I actually prefer a little razzle dazzle in my WNBA playoffs. That's where I'm going.
I think it's kind of been relatively quiet the way Kelsey Mitchell has played since we came back from the Olympics. I mean, for all the talk about Caitlin, and obviously Aaliyah Boston is who she is, but Kelsey Mitchell has really been sort of an X factor, it feels like, for Indiana here over this stretch.
Yeah, would wholeheartedly agree. I've said it before. I think that Caitlin and Kelsey together are one of the most dangerous backcourt duos in the entire league. And a lot of that has to do with Kelsey being able to match Caitlin's fire as well. Like, that's a tough 1-2 punch. If you cut off one, the other one's going to keep going off. And that's really hard for teams to sustain. When you've got two players who both average 19 plus points a game, like, that is a lot of scoring. And the thing is, they do it quick. Like, if they've scored and then you score back, they've already scored again before you can even get back to your position. That's tough for teams to kind of keep up with. So I think Kelsey Mitchell deserves way more flowers probably than she's getting from fans, from the media, from everyone, because I think that she is really this kind of unspoken glue that holds the Fever together. And that's what makes them so special. Like, it's one thing to have 2 rookies of the year on your team. I'm speaking in the future and saying that Caitlin Clark will get rookie of the year. But it's another thing to have basically earth, wind, and fire on your team, and to have that just all going at once, and for teams to try to game plan to stop it, it's tough. And I welcome anybody that can do that.
That was in the first round. Is there really any shot of a situation where we're not looking at maybe Liberty and take your pick of either Lynx or Aces in the finals? Who's a team that maybe could make a quote-unquote Cinderella run all the way to the championship round in your mind, Megan?
Yeah, it's the Minnesota Lynx. If you remember from last season, they were pretty beat up going into the postseason play. They ultimately fell short because they hadn't been healthy, for most of the season. This season, they're healthy. They're playing lights out. I have them penciled in as my finals favorite. I recently changed that after watching just this tear that they've been on. The Liberty also have not looked as crisp probably as I would like them to. And watching the Lynx dismantle the Liberty very recently, Breanna Stewart goes off for 38, and it's not enough to keep up with the Lynx and how balanced they are on both sides of the ball. So if I'm putting my money anywhere for someone to go all the way to the finals, it's going to be the Minnesota Lynx. I think that probably gets a lot of people's attention. And if you weren't paying attention to the Lynx before, you will certainly do that if they make it there.
I mentioned Cheryl Reeve and her Paris mojo. Nafisa Collier, much the same since the Olympics.
Yeah, for sure. I had the pleasure of talking to Fee last year, and she told me, hey, I still want to win a championship. I still want to win an MVP. And I think she meant that, right? Like, she's been playing lights out since the beginning of the season. Obviously, she dealt with the injury right before the Olympic break, but came back healthy, came back still playing well on both sides of the ball. And she is the life and soul, I feel like, of that Minnesota Lynx team. They go as Fee goes. And so, just like Asia Wilson could get the Aces to the finals, I think it's going to have to be through Nafisa Collier to get the Lynx all the way there.
All this talk about the Lynx, our good friend Willie G. Ramirez was touting the Mercury a couple of times on this program. Do the Mercury have any shot to pull one off in your mind versus Minnesota?
Oh, you're going to make me cry now because I was so excited about the Mercury in the offseason. I love their acquisitions of Kalia Copper and Natasha Cloud, and they really just, they've been disappointing to me. I felt like they are a lot better than their record gives. I think you've even seen probably some other folks throughout the season say, hey, this is a team that could play spoiler to someone trying to get to the finals. But I'm not quite sure. At this rate, it all depends on the Mercury's defense. I think they've been able to keep their pace with teams that are under 500, but when they get to playing those teams that really have obviously, lots more pieces, they kind of struggle. So I'm out on the Mercury as far as making a deep postseason run. I'm so sorry, Mercury fans. Just again, close your eyes if you're listening. Close your eyes, close your ears if you're listening. But these are, this is where I'm at. I think we have to be real about where we are.
And is part of the being out on the Mercury kind of a maybe Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi their best years are behind them, maybe.
Oh, I will say this. Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi are still a bucket, right? They've still proven that they can score on any given night, right? DT can light you up from beyond three. Brittany can go to work in the paint. But I will say their efficiency obviously is down, right? And I think that, yes, we've seen better years from both of them. I'm not ready to say that Diana Taurasi will retire, although I do think the Phoenix Mercury are preparing as if she might. And, the other thing is to remember she's been playing for 20 years. So that's a lot of seasons on her body. So, if this is it for Diana, I think she's played wonderfully up until this season. We've certainly seen flashes of her greatness, but it does look like, she certainly is father time is knocking on the door to say, hey, it might be time to come sit down. As far as Brittany Griner, I don't know if her best years are behind her, but I will say that she didn't look as dominant as I had hoped she would, particularly during the Olympic run. I felt like she left a lot of bunnies on the table that if they were playing any better teams, they would have gotten smoked on the court. But you saw that when they played France, they had tons of trouble with France's defensive pressure. So I'm not really quite sure. I don't know if it's a down season. I don't know. I'm not quite sure there, but I do think that we're not getting as much of an efficient game from her consistently throughout the year as we probably have seen in other years.
Let me throw something at you here. Of the 4 teams that aren't going to make this postseason field, who do you think could have done the most damage had they made it? Because I've got a team in mind.
That's a good question. To be honest with you, and I know this is going to sound wild when I say this, but a healthy Sparks team could probably have given some people some problems. You get a healthy Cam Brink, you get a healthy Ari McDonald, Laisha Clarendon, De'Erica Hamby was on a tear for much of the season. I think the Sparks probably could have given some folks some problems. I think they're actually a lot better than what their record says, only winning 7 games, but injuries just kind of suck. And you can't do a whole lot when half your team is banged up. So that's my pick. Who's yours? I'm curious now.
I think Dallas would have been dangerous for somebody.
Okay.
It just felt like, again, coming back from Paris, that they were playing some pretty good ball in some stretches. I saw them push Indiana one Sunday in particular in a game that they probably should have won. But I just felt like that's a team that could, with the right matchups, really give somebody some problems.
That's a good pick. They gave teams fits last year when they were fully healthy as well. Arike, that combination of Arike and Satu is dangerous on a court. Also, their length is a problem. Tierra McCowan, Kalani Brown, that's a lot of height and length to be on a court and to be able to battle with. I think for Dallas, their problem wasn't necessarily that they couldn't do it, but their defense was just very subpar. Even once Satu came back after the Olympic break, you saw them fighting, scratching, clawing, stringing together a couple of games to keep themselves in it. But then they had several late game mishaps and meltdowns. And really you saw it in the Atlanta Dream game that went into overtime. That thing was it was a wild game. But what happened was they were able to build a 16-point lead on that game, and it dwindled, and Atlanta came back. And they hit a shot, right before overtime at the end of regulation to force overtime, but then they just melted like butter in overtime. Dream went out to a quick 5-point lead, and that was all she wrote at that point. So I think if Dallas's defense was a lot better, they probably wouldn't have been able to do it, even with the injuries they had this season.
Megan L. Hall of For the Win joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little WNBA. Regular season finishes up tonight. So it was announced yesterday Portland's getting an expansion team for 2026. Toronto had already been announced for 2026. Golden State is getting a team for next season. Are they going to play with an odd number next year?
Yeah, it's going to be an odd number. I'm curious to see how this works out. There might be definitely some scheduling hurdles to figure out with that. But I think once you get to 2026, when both Toronto and Portland come about, well, it'll be obviously a little bit better, but you'll still 15 teams is still a little odd as well. So I don't think you probably won't see this fully even out until 2028, probably, because that's the deadline they've given themselves to get to 16 teams.
So you don't think it'll be any sooner than that?
I think it'll be hard scheduling wise. Like, have you ever looked at a WNBA schedule? It's wonky. It's very wonky. There's lots of series where, hey, you got to play a team 4 times, or either you'll see certain days where there's 5 games on a night, 4 of them are all at the same time. Like, it's gonna get really hairy if you're gonna add in a 13th team, and then you come back and add 2 more. Obviously, you know, my heart and condolences go out to the folks that have to do the scheduling, because it sounds like a nightmare to be able to walk through, but I hope they'll figure it out. That's my hope.
Back to the chaos.
Back to the chaos.
Yep.
Absolutely. Megan, we appreciate you taking some time with us. I know you'll be riveted to the action tonight. Who gets the 8th seed?
I'm actually going to go with Atlanta. I think they have the best chance of doing so. They've set themselves up. They have actually did what they were supposed to do, which was at minimum split the series, the season series with the Mystics and Chicago to even put themselves in a position to be here. My pick based on the odds and the schedule is Atlanta.
Megan, you mentioned odds real quick. That spread is only 2.5 tonight. What's up with that spread versus the Liberty? Does Atlanta win that game in your mind?
Okay, so let me say this. Do I think they're capable? Absolutely. But if I know the Liberty, you know, obviously they're at home. They want to close the season out with a dub right into the playoffs. So I'm going to put this out there that I think this game will probably end up being a little bit closer than we think. And also keep this in mind. If it's going to happen, it's got to be on the back of Ryan Howard. It's also got to be on the back of Tina Charles. Oddly enough, Tina Charles probably doesn't get enough flowers as she probably needs to, but the dream have been going as Tina Charles goes as well. And I believe she's 1 away from having the most double-doubles in WNBA history tonight. So if she gets that, if Tina Charles gets a double-double, that usually bodes well for Atlanta. I won't say it's a surefire thing, but it certainly helps if you're getting those quick paint points and touches and able to keep up with teams.
Megan L. Hall for the win, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Megan, we appreciate you taking some time. Hope to catch up with you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you. Hey, we have made an administrative decision, or an executive decision. We are going to skip our final break and go straight into the grab bag to close out today's show. And let's start where we started, as the Jets host the Patriots in an AFC East tilt tonight, in a game that may or may not be worthy of national attention, but here it is.
Yeah, this one's going to be ugly, and ugly games have always gone in favor of New England as of late. The Jets, I don't know how to react. They're favored by 6 tonight. I think they win the game. It won't be pretty. Give me like 20-10, the Jets winning. But because the demons still haunt us, I would somehow not be surprised if the Pats win this game outright. They look a lot better than I think folks thought they would coming into this season.
You know, we talked a lot about chaos on today's show in particular, and this game just feels like it could be a little chaotic, particularly with the Patriots and their play here, you know, both over the preseason and into the regular season. But it won't be pretty. I think it will be competitive.
I think so. Like I said, the Pats are playing better. Mayo's got them absolutely buying in. Christian Gonzalez being back defensively has been a massive already improvement for the New England Patriots defense. So it'll be ugly, and I just hope the Jets can out-ugly the Patriots tonight.
Fun Belt action tonight.
Could be less ugly.
Yeah, or could be more ugly, depending. South Alabama goes to Appalachian State. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's in Boone tonight.
South Alabama not far removed from that 87-10 win over Northwestern State. Now that's their only win.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think they're going to score 87 against App State.
No, and App State's favored by almost 8 points. I just got a hard time believing, no matter how many points that they racked up against Northwestern State, that a team with just one win is going to go into Boone and knock off App State on a Thursday night. That place will be rocking. I've never been over there, but I just got a feeling, you know, the flasks will be out in the student section. Little grandpa's medicine going to be floating around. Man, the banjos will be going. App State will be a raucous environment tonight. I think they cover the 6.5 points, and South Alabama will be wishing they were playing a FCS opponent again.
Or wishing that they had saved some of those points.
Yes, absolutely.
From playing an FBS opponent. Going back to the NFL for just a second, because injury reports out of Green Bay seem to be indicating that Malik Willis is not the lock at QB1 when the Packers come back to Nissan. The storybook setup that so many of us were, if not hoping for, certainly anticipating, may not be the case. Jordan Love may be ready to go Sunday.
Perhaps, right?
And then it becomes a coaching decision, though, right?
Yeah.
Because if this was a high ankle sprain or whatever it was, if you're Green Bay, especially when you've got an NFC Central game coming up the following week against Minnesota, why do you rush this guy back for this game?
Yeah, and that's exactly where I land. He's listed as limited participant both yesterday and today, but it just feels like lip service to me.
A little misdirection.
I would not be surprised if he is perhaps active, or maybe even tabbed as an emergency designation, kind of like we saw with Russell Wilson in week 1, where you might see him in shoulder pads, maybe ready to go if things got crazy and Malik got injured, or who's the backup? Clifford, I think, or Sean Clifford.
Yeah.
If he perhaps is, you know, unable, if something weird happens, I think they maybe activate Love as an emergency QB. That's if you believe what we're getting, right? You know, the San Francisco 49ers have kind of proven that injury reports aren't necessarily always what they appear to be. So where do we land on this? And you're right, with the big NFC North showdown versus the Vikings next week, I don't know. Central? You were going throwback there.
I was.
I don't buy that he's going to see the field in any capacity Sunday, which keeps the fairy tale Malik Willis storyline open for him and his family and his supporters. It keeps the nightmare scenario open for the Titans going into Sunday.
Yeah, man, how that, you know, that's kind of where I was looking to go all week. What if?
I mean, that was a game too, and I had a friend that had some money on the Colts as one of their locks this week, and I said that is a fool's bet right there, because when everybody says all the money needs to be on the Colts, there's no way the Packers can win. Malik Willis has never thrown a touchdown in the NFL. Guess what? They did a great job. Matt LaFleur is a great play caller and a great schemer. He schemed it up beautifully for Willis. Didn't ask him to do a lot, and they just out-physicaled the Colts. Wouldn't surprise me if the Packers keep this game close. The Titans are going to be in for a tough one Sunday.
Well, and if they can keep it close, given past history, the other quarterback might do something to help you out.
Yeah, the Titans have lost some games that they should not have lost. There's no doubt about that, and that's without potentially the Packers, you know, maybe putting extra pressure on them. I think it'll be a good game. If the Titans win this one, it'll be one where you say, whew, thank goodness we won. If you lose, man, it's really going to stink. And the narratives will continue for Tennessee, who'll be 0-3 at that point.
Without question. That's going to do it for Throwback Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and come back to us tomorrow at 2 o'clock from the Lee Company Studios. We'll see you then.